I mentioned this in my $5 3DS eShop games video, but the same holds true here. The absolute best titles on 3DS eShop were ported to Nintendo Switch. So trying to make a video solely focused on toes, 3DS exclusives is a challenge. Like trying to look people in the eyes at the beach and not in the toes. Still, I think I fared slightly better here than in the last video. First up is Night Sky. In the eShop listing, developer Nicholas says there are no enemies, no bosses, and no violence. In a way, Night Sky is like Limbo, except nothing's trying to kill you and you play as a ball with superpowers. Night Sky essentially goes for atmosphere over challenging gameplay. The art style is wonderful, as is the accompanying music, but don't worry, this isn't a game that plays with itself. In Night Sky, you control a ball. Unlike my balls, Lefty, Righty, and Malcolm, this one doesn't have a name. Depending on the area, you might be turbo boosting your ball, inverting gravity, driving a vehicle, or playing pinball. There's a decent amount of variety in the short campaign, and if you ever make a mistake, pressing X resets your position, removing any potential frustrations. Ultimately, the majority of gameplay boils down to gathering momentum and sending your ball flying, hoping you clear whatever obstacle is in your path. This is not a white-knuckle, brain-busting puzzle platformer. It's a relaxed, physics-based platformer that encourages you to play with your balls, unlike my kindergarten teacher. After beating Night Sky, which takes about 2 hours, you can go back and collect secret stars to unlock bonus content or replay the game in alternative mode. Alternative mode brings more complex puzzles and turns the difficulty up. This isn't always a plus though. Removing the ability to slow your ball made it more frustrating at times, and the vehicle physics are pretty much designed with the sole purpose of trolling you. So while alternative mode adds much more playtime to the experience, I'm not sure it's more enjoyable than the regular campaign. Still, I can recommend Night Sky to anyone looking for an atmospheric puzzle game. And I'll be a nice guy and mention that Night Sky is also available on Steam for $10. Since there isn't really anything that takes advantage of the 3DS itself, you won't miss out on anything with the PC version. Based on the title, I thought Attack of the Friday Monsters would be all about my baby mamas hounding me for alimony payments. But instead of a horror game, it's just a fun little coming-of-age experience. I've never played Shenmue, but I think Friday Monsters is like that. You walk around a small town, talk to people, and take on a few quests. The beginning of the game is fairly boring, yet I still enjoy just wandering around and seeing the sights. While there's nothing particularly special about the city, around every corner there's things called Glim. If you collect enough of a certain Glim, you unlock a new card. Yes, Attack of the Friday Monsters has a card game hidden inside. Unlike Yu-Gi-Oh! Where each card has a million lines of text, the battling here is super simple. It's literally just rock, paper, scissors with a little bit of pizzazz thrown in. You place 5 cards face down, then after receiving some hints, you can swap 2 cards. If you both choose the same attack, whichever card has the highest strength wins. And when you win, the loser becomes your slave. It's not as bad as it sounds. You can just tell them to fall down and they have to fall down. That's it. Winning also gets you a Glim, but overall battling's not that in-depth. Ultimately, the point of Attack of the Friday Monsters is to travel through the town and talk with the townsfolk, all while completing those quests. It definitely has a charm to it, like an 80s coming-of-age movie, set in the backdrop of monsters attacking the town every Friday, hence the name. While the music's almost perfect, the story's intriguing and at times humorous, and the graphics get the job done, it has its faults. For instance, whenever you advance a quest or start a new quest, the game automatically autosaves. However, one of those Friday monsters casts a freezing spell on you so you can't move for a few seconds. Considering that just having a 10-second conversation is enough to trigger the autosave, this function really messes with the pacing. A character will tell you to follow them, then you just stand there like a statue while the game saves. You'll notice in the footage that there's very little card battling. That's because it's a minor part of Friday Monsters. The game is mostly story-based with little actual gameplay mixed in. I think I only battled 5 or 6 times my entire playthrough, and I'm pretty sure it's completely optional except for one battle. Because of how story-focused this is, I can't really show you too much without spoiling it. To compare it to another game, it's kind of like Telltale's The Walking Dead, in the sense that the gameplay takes a backseat to the story. You're not buying Friday Monsters to walk back and forth through the town while collecting Glim and taking each person's rarest card after a victory. You're playing it for the charm and interesting story. When the credits rolled in Friday Monsters after just 2 hours, I was glad to have played it. It's not a must-own by any stretch, but if you're in the mood for a nice little story that can be enjoyed quickly over a weekend, it's worthwhile. There is a bit of post-game content, it's just not enough to mention. The main draw is progressing each person's individual story and watching them grow. If nothing else, Attack of the Friday Monsters made me feel something, like a vampire tasting blood for the first time in years. I was dead inside, but something sparked inside me, and if only for a fleeting moment, I felt warmth in my heart. Though that could have been the large pizza I ate by myself. About 10 years ago, when I was a professional video game reviewer for a website called tjmillercandonowrong.com, I think I played Nano Assault, except it was on a cartridge. Well, when the eShop version of the improved EX version went on sale for $2, I decided to play a game that came out when TikTok was just a Kesha song. First off, I should mention that I'm a huge fan of Geometry Wars. I played the first 2 games until the nubs on my Xbox 360 controller were gone, and I played the 3rd game until my fingers and toes developed calluses. That's important because Nano Assault is a twin-stick shooter. While you can use the Circle Pad Pro, unless I wanted to perform some minor plastic surgery, I can't get mine to fit on a 3DS with a capture card installed. So I was left with the face buttons. While it isn't perfect, you'll never have exact pinpoint control with the face buttons, it's about as good as it could be. The developers let you choose from 3 different shooting modes: a focused burst, a wide burst, and an even wider burst, so you don't have to be perfect to clear levels. While there will be gaps at times, I never really had much of an issue. Thirdly, while my memory's not quite what it used to be, I don't remember Nano Assault being this good. It's just a great twin-stick shooter, and probably my favorite part is the variety. Within the first few levels, you'll do the typical flying around an object while eliminating every enemy, then you'll face a tough boss in a circular arena, and there's even a shoot-'em-up level where you fight another boss at the end. Nano Assault is happy to switch things up so they don't get stale. Fifthly, I have to note the difficulty. This game can be hard. On just the 2nd level, I died to the boss. Learning enemy shooting patterns is key, as is dodging and choosing your times to shoot wisely. Since there isn't a life meter, if you get hit once, that's a life gone. Get hit 3 times, you have to restart from the beginning, or, depending on the type of level, a checkpoint. Once you realize that even the seemingly easiest foes can cost you a life, it gets really good. Luckily, collecting 100 blue crystals does increase your maximum life, so things do become easier as the game progresses. While I have a lot of praise to heap on Nano Assault, there's a few reasons why it's not the greatest game of all time. Some of the bosses and levels take a bit too long. Trying to find that one last straggling enemy can lead to 30 seconds of aimlessly flying around, while certain bosses have a section or 2 that drag on, rather than giving you an intense fight. Plus, there are times where the frame rate dips. It never becomes unplayable, you'll just notice your ship firing a bit slower than normal. Overall, it runs and plays well, but there are hiccups. The story mode in Nano Assault EX only lasts about 3 hours. Once you're done that, you can play arcade mode, which is story missions with a single objective that earn you nano coins. Then there's boss rush mode and survivor mode. Basically, if you enjoy Nano Assault as much as I did, the content doesn't end when the story does. So for all those reasons, I happily recommend playing Nano Assault. And if you don't mind waiting, I suggest keeping track of 3DS eShop sales, because it seems to get an 80% discount every month or 2. When you think of Game Freak, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? Exactly, horse racing and solitaire. The developer most known for Drill Dozer, Tembo the Badass Elephant, and Gator Wrecker also created Pocket Card Jockey, one of the most critically praised exclusive games on 3DS eShop. It combines horse racing and solitaire, but the wackiest thing is that the protagonist actually speaks. You want to become a great horse racer, except you suck, so you go to train a mean horse, get bodied and land on a track, then are trampled by horses. As you're dying, an angel visits you and grants you life again, so long as you fulfill your dream of becoming the best horse racer. If you fail, the angel will delete your save data before the final race. Yes, all of this is actually real. Even with how weird everything in Pocket Card Jockey is, it somehow comes together to make a really fun and engaging video game. You have to excel at both aspects of Pocket Card Jockey to do well. The opening game of Solitaire is over in only a few moves, but if you can get the right card in a hurry, your start is that much better. Then it's a case of winning multiple games of Solitaire as quickly as possible. Assuming you do well, plotting your course on the track and then rubbing one out with your fingers are key, because you can grab items that help you later on. After all of the games of Solitaire have reached completion, you enter the home stretch. Based on how well you did up to this point, your horse has more stamina and can reach the finish line first. Game Freak definitely needs to be applauded here. Horse racing and Solitaire aren't big gaming genres, yet they combined them and somehow made a successful title. While it is fun and the dialogue is awkwardly funny, you are just playing Solitaire. A lot. Granted, it's the most hectic games of Solitaire you've ever played, but it's Solitaire nonetheless. So it can get repetitive, especially when all there is to break it up is putting 2 horses together and hoping they bang each other. More horse customization would have been nice, or maybe some fun minigames to boost their stats, or maybe something where you could make decisions to sabotage other racers, or maybe the conditions of the track could vary. There was a lot they could have done to make this absolutely insanely good. Unfortunately, the core concept is never really expanded upon. I'll also mention that I had some issues with the difficulty and cheap AI knocking you out of the race pretty much on the first turn, but it all really comes down to the fact that I just couldn't stop playing Pocket Card Jockey. It's like I have a weird obsession with horses and smacking them really hard in the backside and hearing them, anyways, there's RPG elements here as well, except instead of making your horses stronger so they beat the crap out of each other until one of them is knocked out, they just get faster and acquire new skills. And when a horse reaches 4 years of age, like Leonardo DiCaprio when his girlfriends reach 25, they're useless to you. So you banish them to the mature leagues. But again, just like Pokemon, you can force the horses to breed, giving you a more powerful offspring. What holds Pocket Card Jockey back from being a truly amazing S-tier game is how thin it all is. There's literally just horse racing and solitaire, and the game really likes to screw with you when it comes to taking cards from the top of your pile. While there is that element of time ticking down, Game Freak just didn't do enough to take solitaire to the next level. Ultimately though, the best thing about Pocket Card Jockey is just how addicting it is. I never thought I'd be saying that about racing horses while playing solitaire, but I kept playing long after I should have. My new girlfriend, Sunbeam, she's a millennial and a free spirit who walks around barefoot, keeps asking me to come to bed, but I put my foot down and told her digital horse racing is far more important. Then she smacked the 3DS out of my hands with a whip and put a saddle on my back, then hand-fed me a carrot. Wait, no, sorry, I must have dreamt that. I don't actually have a girlfriend. I mean, Sunbeam's real, she just isn't my girlfriend. She's my, well, let's just say we have an arrangement and a safe word. All in all, Pocket Card Jockey is good and the best game in this video. I highly recommend it. Now this is a puzzle game I can get behind. Not in the creepy Joe Biden way, in the normal way where I don't know where to stand to not be creepy while also not making it clear to everyone else that I'm not being creepy. Imagine if Tricky Towers was a bite-sized single-player experience and you get Art of Balance Touch. Instead of building a giant tower, the goal is to simply place all of the pieces and get them to stay for 3 seconds. It's so simple and so fun at the same time. I can't explain to you how exhilarating it is to drop a ball to begin the 3-second timer, watch it start to roll, and then just clear the level as it's about to fall. Equally fun is when your monstrosity is about to tip over, so you hastily place a piece and save it at the last possible second. There's not a whole lot else to say about Art of Balance. The gameplay is simple yet rewarding, the puzzles grow in difficulty, new mechanics are introduced that made my brain throw up on itself, the physics are balanced, see what I did there, and above all else it's just a fun, well-made puzzle game. A word of caution to those expecting a deep puzzle game though. Art of Balance Touch isn't a case where the developers are smarter than you. It's a game that provides a sense of accomplishment and regularly put a smile on my face. They give you the tools and it's up to you to make something. And no matter how ugly it is, the game will like it. Just like a parent who was given a handmade doll by their kid that more closely resembles Krusty the Clown than them. And just like Nano Assault EX, if you're budget conscious, the 3DS version goes on sale regularly. But if you want the better version complete with improved graphics as well as online play and split screen, get the Switch version. Just be aware that it's $12 regularly. Whichever version you decide to get, you'll find a highly enjoyable puzzle game. To circle back to what I said off the top, the 3DS eShop is lacking in must-play exclusives. If you can only get one game from this video, make it Pocket Card Jockey. Just don't blame me when you start to dream about whips and horses. And if there's any other 3DS eShop games under $10 that you think are worth playing, sound off in the comments below.